All right, we are back. Our final segment this morning, Chris Johnson's joining us, attorney with Takis and McGinnis. You know, so much of what you do as a lawyer and what we're just talking about here can sometimes involve occasionally litigation, but other times dealing with the courts and, you know, judges sometimes, probate and the like. What have you seen of late? Has it changed much over the last 4 months? But I mean, I don't know much about what you've had to deal with the courts, but where do you stand on this? Because I know, at least on the criminal side, to a large measure, I mean, it's been pretty much shut down. Have you guys been able to get what you need, paperwork, documents legally done through the courts during this pandemic?
We have, and I've been very impressed with how the court systems have dealt with this. Again, we're going through something that is just unprecedented in our lifetimes, a complete shutdown, essentially, of our economy, of our society. And it has been a strange feeling out process to see, okay, what are we going to do and how are we going to handle this? I think a real emphasis of great work is done by the clerk's offices of the courts that we deal with, because a lot of this burden has fallen to them to find a way, to find new paths, to find new avenues. I think one of the great things that's come out of this is that the courts have found lots of things that they can do remotely, that they can use this Zoom platform for. And the easier that you make the court process, the wider the access to our court system and the more justice that's done. And so I think to some extent, I do think finding certain hearings that maybe we don't need to do in person, and certain hearings that we can take care of all of this that's less disruptive in people's lives and can allow them to get to their jobs sooner and make sure that their paychecks aren't disrupted for making court obligations. I think that's utterly fantastic. Now, I do also think that there are very solemn things that happen in our courtrooms that should happen in a courtroom. And, you know, an obvious one, a criminal trial, that shouldn't be happening over a Zoom platform and isn't. They are dealing with these as it comes. And I just think that it's been a Herculean task that, frankly, I know we deal often with the Davidson County courts, with the Sumner County courts, and their clerks' offices and their judges have been fantastic and, frankly, very accommodating. It's kind of everyone, let's get everyone rowing in the same direction and keep the boat moving. And we've done that, and they have done that. And I think people take for granted what a huge task that was. And frankly, what a good job they have done. In fact, I was reading an article just the other day. There are jurisdictions that it hasn't gone so well. I saw an article out of Chicago where their court system, people were literally getting notices of their court dates after the date was over. So they're getting a notice for a court date, and that date had already passed 3 or 4 days ago, and it was a nightmare. I believe it was their traffic court. So thankfully, not the most gargantuan of charges there, but still always unnerving. And frankly, here, I haven't seen it. I'm sure there've been hiccups in any time you have a transition like this. There's friction and everything else. But in my experience that we've dealt with the courts, they've been utterly fantastic.
I get, and that's good to hear, because and it's only going to get better as they continue to reopen. Are there, as we wrap things up, Chris, any deadlines, things like this that come up for some of your clients when we're talking about Medicaid and Plan D or other things that maybe are happening out of Washington, D.C. that you guys are reminding some of your clients to be aware of? And I don't know if there is. Usually that's at the end of the year or something along those lines. I'm just not sure if there's something you need to remind folks of.
Yeah, the biggest things I always want to remind folks of is, hey, especially for the seniors, you're turning 65, start looking at your Medicare and looking at your initial enrollment, your annual enrollment. You want to make sure your Part B, your Part D, always stay on top of those things. Those are vitally important. You don't want to take a penalty on that. And then the other issues are just as far as planning in general, as far as, and I kind of will air quotes the deadline here, but if you're looking at planning for the possibility of TennCare, don't wait until it's on your doorstep. All of us can make those plans. And when you start hitting retirement age and you haven't updated your estate plan in a while, sit down with an attorney, do that consult, and just get a snapshot of where you are. I love the meetings where I have someone come in and I'm doing a document review for them, and I look at their wills, look at their trust, look at their powers of attorney, and say, you're in a great position. This is all still doing what you want it to do. And they walk out very satisfied with the peace of mind. And I always want to do the maximum we can do for a client, but sometimes the client comes in and they're squared away. And that's a really good feeling to let them know, hey, you're on top of things. But then we also say, we project out and we say, okay, in 3 years, you want to be thinking about this. In 5 or 6 years, you want to be thinking about this. These are the things that you kind of want to stick a pin in. And obviously, Medicare, applying for your Social Security, when to start drawing on that. All of those things are critically important, and they all are very case by case dependent. And so what's good for one person is not good for another. And oftentimes, I mean, we're a friendly society. We know our neighbors, and we talk to our social circle, and people say, well, I talked to my friend and they did this and it sounded like a good idea. And it probably was a good idea. It probably was a very good idea, but it was a very good idea for them due to their personal circumstances. And your personal circumstances not only may, but most likely are different than theirs, because frankly, all of our lives are a little different, and you don't know what they have going on in their personal life. What you have going on in your personal life may very likely be different. And so you just want to get that analysis. But always, if you're in your early to mid 60s, you want to sit down and talk with your estate planner. You want to make sure you get the Medicare right. And then you want to start thinking about your Social Security election and when the right time to do that is. But all of those things are vitally important, and they are all going to be dependent upon what your personal situation is.
I know when people talk about the retirement and going that route with Social Security and everything, I bet you guys had some folks, not that you necessarily have to deal with this through your practice, wondering about, am I getting a stimulus check? Or, I'm on SSI, I'm on Social Security, I'm drawing on it. There were some questions early on. I think most of them, if you were collecting Social Security and the like, at least with that first stimulus payment, most people got it. Did they not, most of your clients, to your knowledge?
Yep. Most of them got it. It went pretty smoothly. It was not the big hiccup that I think some people anticipated. Again, any programs that are that far-fetched as far as that stretching out to almost every American citizen and done that rapidly, you just kind of have it baked into the cake that you think this probably won't go well. And I think on a whole, considering the short timeline and the expansive nature of the program, I thought it was executed pretty well all in all, and it didn't disrupt clients that were on benefits, and so we're in a good position. We'll see if Congress and the president can get together. Right. I know they're looking at, it would be stimulus bill number 4, and it would be stimulus check number 2 if we're keeping track at home. And I think we all hope for the betterment of the whole country that they can all get on the same page, hammer out a compromise, and help get the country through what hopefully is the final months of this very difficult circumstances.
I've been out to the original office with Takis and McGinnis. Now I understand you have a palatial new office where you have been afforded, from what I understand, a very, very nice corner office with picture windows. Can you tell me a little bit about where this is located and about how there is a gymnasium with a mirror ball, and you guys have a hot tub? I think there's also a jukebox, correct, and a coffee bar?
We don't have all of that, but we are very happy. We have moved out to 104 Windcrest, which is just off Windcrest Way, which is just off exit 8 on Veterans Boulevard. Palatial is not the right word, but it is roomy, and that's very important, because as we've been talking about this, I've been talking about how our seniors are our most vulnerable segment of our society. that's our client base. I mean, that's one of the biggest segments of our client base, and we obviously care for our clients dearly. And our old facility was an old home. It was very cozy and very homey, but the quarters were we had filled up the building pretty full. So we have the room to social distance here, whereas before we had offices where people shared offices. Now everyone has their own office, the ability to stay more than 6 feet apart. We have great cleaning protocols in here. And so what we love about this facility is it helps us better serve our clients. It helps us keep our clients safer when they come to us for help. And that obviously is near and dear to our heart. We do have a conference room that we can use for community events and the like, and it allows us to engage more with our community, which we want to do because our job is to help people take care of their mom and dad, and we want to get the word out that there's a lot of good that can be done. And we think this new space is really going to help facilitate that and really help us take better care of our clients. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do.
Will Tim's wife, Lynn, still bring cookies in?
She just brought zucchini sweet rolls just yesterday, and they were incredible.
It just figures.
Anytime you're Nick, I'm sure there will be something here for you because
she is
her cooking
so awesome. She is such a good cook, and it's interesting with her. She's always doing something a little different. I thought you were going to say zucchini bread. She brought zucchini sweet rolls, which I bet were awesome.
Yeah, they basically look like a Cinnabon, but with zucchini bread, and it's
sign me up.
Yep, that's right.
All right. Well, listen. Hey, please tell Tim, Barbara, and of course Lynn, I said hi. Would you please? And hey, it's really good talking to you as always. You know, we cover a lot of ground on this, and you guys help an awful lot of people. We'll make sure to put the number up after we pass about how folks can check in with you if they need to. It's never too late to start planning for your future or the estate, whether it's for you or a loved one who's aging, answering some of these questions. You guys do a full, well-rounded look at everything that needs to be done. I really appreciate you coming on this morning, Chris.
Nick, thank you. As always, it's an honor and a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Take care of yourself, sir. We'll talk to you soon. We'll take a break, and I will come back. We will have a programming note. I'll also give you the information on how you can contact Chris and the others there at Takis and McGinnis right after this. Stay with us.